Hey-oh, shelf number 19 of 48 or whatever it is. You know, a lot of shelves to go through, but we're continuing the Fantasy Flight trend, and it's going to carry on until certainly in this video and the next video will be Fantasy Flight only, and then there'll be one more Fantasy Flight game, and then that's it. We'll be moving on to Portal after that one, but 4 games to talk about, and as you can see, they take a bit more of a Euro Civ feel for the most part, although there's still thematicness, there's still the classic themes of 40k involved. So let's go into them. XCOM. I was a latecomer to the XCOM franchise with the PC games. For a while I never played them, but I did enjoy that style of game, but mainly from an old PC game called Incubation, where you had to, like, these mutated creatures, alien creatures were infecting the area and you had to fight them off, and you'd come across like weird types of aliens, a big queen and stuff. I loved that game so much. I wish it got remade. If anyone remembers it, let me know. But XCOM, my mates got me into it. You know, the first XCOM, and like XCOM Beyond, I think I played the expanded version, and got hooked, loved it. Frustrating as all get out, especially when it's like, dude, the guy's right in front of you, shoot him. It's not a 60% hit. I can literally see the nostrils, shoot him. It's, you know, it gets frustrating, but it was a good fun game, and so was XCOM 2. This obviously made me want to buy the board game, the big 4-player or possible solo co-op game where you are basically doing the strategic side of XCOM. You are fighting off alien creatures, you've got the insert, everything's falling out probably, but you've got interceptors, you've got all your military dice to send out. Each one of you takes a separate station, so the combat general, I'm trying to think who they are now, the commander, the science officer, I think, was it the tech guy or whatever, the central officer, and the strategic general. I forget their names, but basically the combat dude, the one who runs the budget, the one who runs the satellites and the app, and the one who gives you all the tech. And each one has their own different things. It's a timed game, although half-timed. You have a bit to resolve everything, but the time phase has you going through all these different things, and the app throws all this stuff at you that you've got to contend with, and each of you is responsible for your own thing, but it's a team effort. Try and play this by yourself. I double dare you. It's one of the most stressful games I've ever played. Playing it solo with 4 different stations. You need to know what you're doing. But as a 4-player, fantastic. With each person got their own station, and it represents the XCOM theme very well. You're just not doing that whole tactical shoot-'em-up bit, which most people are a big fan of. But hopefully everything stayed in its insert, because I just recently did an E-Raptor insert video on this, so be interesting to see if it did. Did it? Moment of truth. Yeah, I think for the most part it did. Just a few loose cards, nothing big deal. Cute. This is why this one is not stored vertically anymore. Alright, let's move on to some Civilization games. Let's start with the lighter one, and that's Civilization A New Dawn. You'll see the bigger version in a second, but this one is essentially the streamlined version of the Sid Meier's Civilization games. This one is still a good hour and a half long, you know, still talking 90 minutes to 2 hours. I wouldn't exactly say it's the most shortened game in the world, but it's definitely more abstracted from the others. I mean, there's some concepts in here that you recognize from Sid Meier's, but they are abstracted down to the point where in order to make a sprawling Civ game shorter and more streamlined, you have to make some sacrifices. But this is by no means a bad game. This is still good fun, where you've got the expansive map, you've got the luxury resources, you've got your caravans having to go from city to city-states in order to make trades, barbarians that fight you, and you're controlling areas. But what I like about this one is the mechanic where you've got these 5 technologies and a strip board at the bottom. And as you use a tech, it goes back to the start and is less powerful, but you could use it over and over again. But if you're willing to use other stuff, the tech slowly gets more powerful until you use it. So it's one of those things where the longer you leave it, the more powerful it becomes, and more variety or variability it has. So do you wait, or do you spam it loads, or do you wait for that big push? It's a really cool, interesting mechanic, and you can level up these techs as well. It's a solid game all round, and I've not played it in a while, but I feel that this one needs to hit the table, much like half my collection to be honest, has to hit the table at some point soon when all this crisis is over. And that was another insert. Oh boy, that could have been more of a disaster than I thought it was going to be. But yes, I need to be careful when this is why I don't often show you the backs of games, because they don't warrant being put on their backs. But oh well. not too bad. This one though, oh god. This one has no insert. It really could do with an insert. And I'm going to hold this tight because I dare not lift the lid off. But the original FFG Civilization, the board game. This is the heavy version. This is the 3 to 4 hour version. And it's still really good. You still have those classic concepts from the Sid Meier's game. You've still got the sprawling map with all your people, the different combat cards, which I love. All the like controlling areas, flags, finding little villages, you know, dealing with barbarians, and the fact that you can win by one of 4 different methods in this game. So you have the idea like, oh, I get loads of money and I'm really resourceful. Win. Go kill your opponent's capital. Go kill a capital city. Win. Get to the space race first. Win. You know, you've got different ways you can approach the game, and it allows for a different style of play. Though I do have to admit that some of the races, some of the factions do kind of lend themselves more to certain strategies than others. But it's a sweet, sweet game. But it's just, again, a lot of rules, a lot to deal with, hard to get to the table. And this is the problem when I own games like these. I love them to bits when they get played. But when do they get played? This is why I don't buy every single massive game on the market. And it's why I wish that there were more gateway level games and more streamlined games than there are these 3.5 hour monstrosities. I mean, we don't need expansions to Terraforming Mars. We don't need train games that go on for 4 hours. We don't need another Gloomhaven 1.5. You know, we just need something that can get to the table more often. But where are these people have got 50 hours a week to spend on playing 3 to 4 hour games all the time? I don't know. Clearly not a lot else going on. But, you know, for me, I wish that these were easier to get to the table. But that's not to say don't want them in my collection, because when they will hit the table, I know it'll be a lot of fun. The big Civ game. Alright, let's return to 40k. Chaos in the Old World. Another game I will never sell, because if I do, I'll never see it again. Anything with FFG's logo on it and a Warhammer license will not get sold again, unless another publisher takes it and completely changes it, which I wouldn't necessarily look forward to. But Chaos in the Old World, I mean, there's one problem with the FFG black boxes. They do get scuffed rather easily, but no matter. Chaos in the Old World is a really cool Eric Lang area control game. Probably one of his best works, actually. Actually, I do really like Rising Sun, but I didn't really get into Blood Rage. Don't care about Ankh. Oh no, XCOM's good as well. It's a mixed bag. But with Chaos in the Old World, this is like such great. I mean, the board is essentially like a bit of skin rolled out. It's like really nice and grotesque. But each of you is controlling one of the the great one, like the gods, the chaos gods, Zenith and Khorne and Nurgle. And it's a massive area control game on the board, but each of you has different winning conditions, different styles of plays, different cards. It's one of the most well represented thematically asymmetric games out there. The Khorne is trying to beat up everything in sight. The Zenith have all these funky magical powers and want magic stones. The Nurgle just wants to control areas and infect the land. It's really cool. My only slight beef is that I think the Slaanesh, or Slaanesh, however you pronounce it, I feel they're a bit weaker compared to the other 3 races. I mean, Khorne's pretty hard to beat if they're done well. Nurgle's not too bad. Zenith is quite balanced. I find Slaanesh is a little bit on the weaker side. But other than that, still really enjoy this one. But yeah, like I say, you'll never really see it again unless you see it secondhand. And don't, for the love of God, this one and the Forbidden Stars, they're really good games. But there's a lot of games out there. If people are trying to scalp you for 3 times the value of the game, like £150 to buy one of these 2 games, just say no. Not worth it. These games are great when they were sold in their normal state. They are not worth 3 times their value second hand just so that you can have a copy of it, okay? Save your money and think a little bit more, conservatively about what you spend. So yeah, one more video for the day. We'll move on to, what we got, 17, 18, 19. We'll move on to shelf 20. Only 3 games to talk about, so shouldn't be too long. But I'll see you there. Take care.